Good evening, Mr. Everson, and thank you for your wonderful video. That was in fact sarcasm. I'm sorry for my dishevelled look. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up all night doing work, but I figured might as well. Anyway, I'm going to be picky first of all, and point out that your pronunciation is not that good. It's not Sogomo. There is no middle O between G and M. It is in fact Sogmo. So just clearing that up. Now, more importantly, we've got this little issue that you seem to be having with Mr. Lethler. So I thought I'd address some of your points. First of all, you ask in his letter, what article are you referencing? Well, it's the previous article on Veritum Sandus, and if you've been paying attention, you would have noticed that. So it's not making him look like a fool, you're making yourself look like a fool by entering into something when you obviously haven't actually taken a look at it. What you've probably done, and I'll say this with a fair amount of certainty, is you've looked at Seb's article and thought, well, not even an article, it's a video, yes, and thought, I want a piece of that, I could do that. So you've gone and done it, and you've made a worse job of it. You've actually managed to make a worse hash of it, which is amusing to me. I found Seb's version hilarious, and your version terrifying, because some people in our community probably listen to you. Anyway, you also ask, what community figures are you talking about? Well, again, it's in the previous article, the actual invitation article. Surely, if you were criticizing the response for an article, you'd want to look at the original article first. But maybe that's just me being sensible. Maybe you're too impassioned to actually do the sensible thing. I'm sure that this is an issue so close to your heart that you've abandoned a semblance of rational attempt. Or maybe you never had me in the first place. Who knows? But again, a little reading will get you quite a way, and you'll find that the people who are being talked about, there are actually 6 people on the list. There's me, Jacob Tierney, Bradley of Dullahan, Will himself, Will Circle, the Sogan, James Thompson of Danesland, Lucas Mello of Kos, and then there's also Christian Sanders of Havensgard Amager, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But yeah, he also criticised Mr. Leffler's lack of experience. Now this is ripped straight from Fred, and I'll explain to you why it's false. Experience and first-hand experience, well, they're not identical. That's why they have different names. One is a subset of the other. What you've basically proved is that he doesn't have first-hand experience with the internal affairs of a micronation, which he never claimed to. Your point hasn't actually made me ground. And what he does have is experience A in foreign affairs, first-hand, because despite Erusia being a puppet state, it still had foreign affairs, oddly enough. Now, he also has second-hand knowledge of micronations within our community, because during his time in the community, he's probably given advice to just about every member of note, I would say, other than a couple of minor exceptions. Well, yeah, that's about it. Now, you also say that there's no general consensus that his return would have been a good thing when he last returned. It's not true. There's a link in the doobly-doo which will lead you to his reintroduction thread, which was mostly a warm welcome. It was probably 60% at least, which would be a general consensus. Now, this is when you start going off fucking rails, and it's interesting. Your Bloco gate was Lethler's fault. Yeah, no. The actual information was gathered by Marker, by Alexander Reinhardt, and by Bradley of Dullahan himself, and it was simply presented to Lethler by Bradley several months after the information was collected in order to be formed into a dossier, because it simply hadn't been. They hadn't got around to doing it. They're all busy people. So yeah. So the dossier written by Lethler, but your Blocogate as an entire thing, mostly Bradley's achievement. I know he's quite proud of it, actually. He'd probably be quite upset that you're giving away his credit. Now, this female colleague that he speaks of, doesn't matter who she is. Why do you care? I can't help but think that it's nitpicking, trying to prove a point, and trying to score a point, but you're not going to score a point that easily, because frankly, the idea is pathetic. It's not the first time I'll have to use the word pathetic to describe your arguments in this video. Now, you also have considered that maybe the woman doesn't want to be named, maybe she just wants a quiet life. Maybe he's utilizing discretion. I know that's not something that often happens in this community anymore, but discretion is still important to some of us. Now, Jablokogate caused Aldrich to leave. No. Again, pathetic and frankly stupid. Aldrich was deposed recently by a democratic vote of the people. That's right. Democracy in action. And I would argue that Aldrich's hissy fit in which he vandalized the wiki and the forum is far more controversial than this is. So I would think that actually those points are also ridiculous and completely moot. You disagree with him assigning himself the title of architect of the community. An architect is one who designs or builds structure, and that's not up for debate. He did it. He just did. It's like me arguing that you are not a part of Montosh because I don't really like you. Well, it doesn't work that way. You can have your own opinions, but you don't get your own facts, oddly enough. So you'll have to play with everyone else's. We've all got the same hand here. Now, opposed free speech had admins elected, just saying. I'll skip over that mostly just because, yeah, his allowance of the community in appointing admins, which doesn't actually occur now, is a great freedom that I really wish the community was able to collect, which leads nicely into our next point, the breakdown of communal democracy. It has broken down. I'm an admin. I'll tell you that it's broken down. There is no communal democracy. The idea of communal democracy is now a joke. The official policy of the MicroWiki is that MicroWiki is not a democracy. What's even more worrying is that some admins don't feel they should even be kept responsible to the user base. But that's the way it goes, and to be honest, you don't actually really know that much about what goes on with the admins. He probably knows more than you do, to be honest. Now, a considerably sized body, you criticise this for being vague. Well, it is slightly vague, and that's because exact numbers aren't available, but there is a considerably sized body. It's true. Majority of GUM members. Then there are several people outside the GUM who are also interested in Mr. Lethler's return, so hail on your behalf there. You then say that he can't be trusted considering his history, and yet you're a verbal champion of Frederick, who is the single most deceiving person on the wiki. He has been deceptive and slippery for longer and in greater amounts than anyone else, ever. He is a serial liar who has had multiple personas, and yet you support him. So I'd advise that you readdress your double standard or you look a bit stupid. And finally, you state your belief that Mr. Lethler's return will bring damage to the community. Well, it turns out beliefs aren't worth a single penny in this community, and what does matter is facts. And you have exactly no facts and too much belief, too much self-belief, too much belief in those people who you shouldn't really have belief in, just generally too much belief. So I suggest that you get some facts, and maybe, when you have got some, we can sit down and we'll discuss this like proper adults. But until then, I'm afraid you're not welcome at the bargaining table until you can learn to be reasonable. So with that, I'm closing off, and yeah, I might even go and get some sleep. But who knows, I've got work to do. So, bye.